What is going on, y'all? This is the Caveman. I'm here with Football with Oz Austin for episode 91 of Against the Blitz. I hope I sound all right. I look like a grease ball and I feel like just disgusting. I just traveled all day and now I'm in my vacation home for the next few days and I'm on the bed and I'm really warm already. So I'm gonna do
Hmm.
my best here to spit my opinions out and do it in a manner where hopefully it's not crackling or bad connection or bad quality. So I hope I sound all right, Austin.
No, yeah, you sound fine. It's just dedication.
That's right.
It's just dedication. Filming from the cabin room, kick everybody out. Give me my time to talk about the coaches because they are important. I mean, we got what 10 brand new coaches leading these teams, and very very mixed opinions. A lot of bad opinions on a lot of these kind of.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are definitely a lot. There's a lot of talk when it comes to some of these hires, ranging all the way from the logistics of how they'll actually do as a coach to you know their skin color and all of that stuff. So this kind
Yeah.
of stuff always gets muddy and it's not necessarily a coach thing, but something I wanted to quickly touch on before we got into it was everything happening with the former general manager of the Vikings in Kwesi. Lord help me say his rest of his
Adofo-Mensah.
name. Thank you. Um, he got fired, and I think everyone on planet Earth rightfully would agree that he has not done a job up to par for them the last couple of years. But it came out, whether it was from within the Vikings building or not, that he took leave to be with his wife for his newborn child for a couple of weeks. And mind you, he worked remotely. He didn't just take
Yes.
the entire time off, but there were a lot of people upset with the fact that he took that time. It's like, you're supposed to be a football general manager. You're supposed to understand the sacrifice. You know what goes into this job. You're a top 1%. Fuck off. Like, fuck off, man. This is not a hill to die on. It's such a bad look for these former players and executives that are dying on this hill. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, like congratulations. You're addicted to your work. Your wife hates you. Like amazing. Congratulations. Like God forbid the guy want to make a couple $1 million, work from home, still do the work. Like he wasn't a bad overall GM. He just had one really bad crutch is that he couldn't draft. But it's not like he was just like useless. Like he was really really good at contracts and he was, he had a lot of really successful trades and free agent signings throughout his time there. Just like the worst drafter ever. They got to get rid of him. It makes sense. But like he worked from home. It's like that's illegal to fire someone for taking maternity leave, like or paternity leave, whatever. Like that's not a good look at all, especially for the team that is as down in the dumps as one can be, with no quarterback. They're not even going to get a new GM until the draft is over, so this new GM won't be able to pick this year. Very very interesting way they're going about it.
Mind you, this also occurred during training camp. Like, it's not like he missed the conference championship or he was gone during the draft. Like, it was just 2 weeks during training camp, and I saw like that damn grifting Braden Fajoko on Twitter, like, well, if a player would have tried to miss training camp, it'd be a whole different story. It's like, yeah, because they're different positions. The general manager has made it to the top of this food chain to where he doesn't have to like prove himself to make the roster here. He is in a position where he has the job. He has the support clearly from inside the organization to take this time off. It's not like a player that's right on the bubble of the 53-man roster deciding, you know what, I'm on the verge of basically making or breaking my career here, but now I'm gonna go and take some time. Like, it is a different situation, whether Braden Fajoko or what Quessenberry. I think Scott Quessenberry was another guy I think I saw talking about it. It's like it is different. It's okay to admit that.
It is. I mean, because it's your prime time. Like the prime time of a football player is training camp. That's when you are most needed to be there. If he would have taken this time off, 5 days before the draft or, the day before the tampering period, that would be a problem. Like I actually would agree there. Like he needs to be there. But if we're talking training camp, like he's just existing there, all the work is done. Right now, they're kind of just like fiddling around with some contract talks, maybe a couple free agent signings, maybe like that's it. Let him go. Don't be weird about it. Like it's literally illegal for that to be part of the
Yeah.
reason you fire somebody. So I would keep that in 100%. Don't talk about that.
I mean, I find it very odd that there's just this thought process from people that think it's okay to frown down on this type of decision. Like that 2 weeks, I would tell you right now, I guarantee you that Kwesi does not regret taking those 2 weeks off. And I feel like anybody, father or not, like I'm not a father. I don't have a living, breathing human baby or you know organism to take care of like that. And I still completely understand why you would do such a thing. And I'm just as off put about the way some people are reacting to this as I was to hearing how Joe Brady, chose to basically miss the birth of his child, I think was what he said. Like, yeah, I get you're, dedicated to the bit and all, but I think there's a line. And I'm not going to judge anybody for going here or there. I just find it crazy that Joe Brady, amongst certain circles, is being praised. Meanwhile, Kwesi is the one being kind of judged. Like, it's so ass backwards. And not to mention, if he just doesn't draft horrendously, he's still around and no one talks about it because it's a results
Yep.
oriented business. Tolerance is basically earned. If you are Justin Jefferson and you want to take a week off for your newborn child, Justin Jefferson's getting that week off and no one is saying a word.
Yep.
So,
Sad, but true. But
yes.
we'll break into the coaches. Speaking of Joe Brady, is kind of what got me thinking about this. The most anticipated coaching signing for me was this Buffalo Bills coaching signing. They could have gone anywhere. Anybody would have wanted to go there, and they opted to reach in-house for a one Joe Brady, promoting him from offensive coordinator to now being the sole leader of the program. How are we feeling?
Well, we're going to give these grades, all of these coaching hires grades, and I graded this a B minus. I think this is a good candidate. If I was insert blank team name, but this is not insert blank team name. This is the Buffalo Bills. So good candidate, bad process, wrong organization. And I think people in Buffalo that are upset about it for the wrong reasons. I think looking at Joe Brady and complaining about him being promoted as a head coach because he's a Khalil Shakir screen merchant and he doesn't understand when to, help out Josh or whatever else that people seem to make up. Those are the incorrect reasons to be upset about this promotion because Joe Brady as a play caller, I think did as much as he probably could in a lot of scenarios. It just was the fact that Terry Pagula and company went out of your way to make a mockery of the former head coach, basically saying that you need a culture change because you've hit this perennial playoff wall. You out your 22-year-old wide receiver and toss blame around wherever you can to make it seem like it wasn't the general manager's fault, just to promote someone that you said was a part of drafting said receiver. It just doesn't make any type of sense. So if they would have just fired McDermott and said, you know what, it just wasn't good enough and been done with it, then fine. But they didn't. They took these extra steps about all of this extra bullshit that they felt was necessary just to go with someone that Sean McDermott himself brought in. And Brady made it very clear that McDermott was the reason why he was in that position. So very weird. But from an outsider's perspective, you don't care about none of that. All you care about is how he's going to benefit the Bills. So what was your grade on that?
Well, you kind of had a similar explanation to me. I had a C plus for very similar reasons. Where I do think, like ultimately, if he would have gone to the Saints like last year, there was a lot of buzz for that. That would be a fine, like probably a B plus grade. That's a good signing. But the fact that they fired McDermott because they had felt like they had plateaued as a program they're admitting, like, yes, you were a good coach. You got us this far. You're getting us multiple rounds into the playoffs every year. We just need somebody to get us over that little hump and into the Super Bowl. I don't think promoting your offensive coordinator is the way to do that. Like, if you walk in there and you feel so drastically that you need to make a large change, make the change large. Don't just get rid of that guy and then promote the guy that was under him. That makes zero sense. Because ultimately, I mean, I feel that the Bills defensively have been, punching above their weight for a while. Like, they have performed overall very well as a group, despite not having A-plus talent across the board. And I think a lot of that was McDermott. So if you're going to get rid of him, I mean, they got Jim Leonard. That's a great signing. That's a really good move forward. But it's scary because now there's a lot of change defensively. And your offense probably looks the exact same, especially with no GM change, no personnel change. It's probably going to look the exact same because they made a very, very little change, which is why I gave it a C+.
Right. And I think for another thing I found odd about the way this all went down is that there was such a strong dislike from the fan base about the way this kind of all unfolded. And then he had his introductory press conference, and everybody fell in love with him. It went so well. And all of a sudden, all this confidence is reinstilled. And I'm sitting here like, if if you don't give faith to your fan base in your intro press conference, you failed. Like that's the only goal of an intro press conference is to be like, yeah, I'm the guy for the job, and we're gonna make this happen. I don't think I've ever seen one of those go bad to the point where like, oh shit, like we're in trouble here. So for people to be like changing their tune on that when nothing of true football operation has occurred, at least at that point, I find that puzzling. They have
Yeah.
made good hires ever since. Like I think Jim Leonard was great.
Mhm.
They hired a new pass coordinator from Denver. They're clearly reaching into Joe Brady's past. Working with Sean Payton, and I think the real change that we'll have to see is just what happens with the personnel. I think the offense itself is just going to be pretty similar to what we're used to. Like Sean Payton worked with Drew Brees. That's where Brady's from. It's a lot of under center stuff. They want to run the ball. Like there is not going to be this huge shift in philosophy, especially given the fact that they brought in another guy just to kind of reinforce that philosophy that's over his head. I can't. Well, who did they hire as the pass game coordinator? I can't remember his damn name.
I know they brought in Pete Carmichael.
Pete Carmichael. That's who it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Whether it's pass game coordinator or whatever it is, but nonetheless, it's just another guy that basically falls right in line with what Brady has been doing and what he's definitely going to plan to do in the future. So I would just say to Bills fans, expect the Shakir screen still, expect this offense to still run through James Cook. The hope is just that there is a third dimension with some downfield offense. That's where the GM comes in. So really nothing is different. That's the reality.
No, it's just going to have to be pressure on Bean. Like he's going to have to understand McDermott just went. Like if there's still another year or two and no change, the finger might turn towards you. So he kind of has to get on his horse and not, hop on the radio and explain why they don't need receivers over and over again. Like maybe it's time to finally invest a little bit in a startable wide receiver.
I would be willing to bet anybody. Well, if you're listening to this podcast right now, Bills fan or not, I will be willing to bet you join our Discord, link in description, any amount of money that the Bills take a swing on a wide receiver this offseason. Because if they don't, and God forbid they get eliminated in the wild card or they miss the playoffs, Bean won't have to worry about just getting fired. He'll have to worry for his life. Like
he will be lit on fire.
He will put at the stake at City Hall. Like it will be that bad. So I'm willing to bet the change happens. It's just the other part of this coin that is difficult for me is like you bring in someone that's a completely new face, external candidate. You have no choice but to give them a grace period. Like you cannot sit here and expect in 2 or 3 years to suddenly be, ripping off AFC Championship and Super Bowl appearances, as great as it would be. But Brady has been a part of this stagnant staff. I can't help but think that that leash is shorter. So I'm
Mhm.
just wondering how long of a leash that Pagula and Bean are thinking of giving to where they're going to be back in the same mindset where Josh Allen's crying in the locker room again because they lose to the Chiefs in some absurd manner. Like, are they going to be like, oh, I can't do this after 4 years? Like, what is that leash going to look like for a guy that's already been here?
Yeah, that's that's why I just don't like making such a small change, because like it feels like that leash is shorter. The patience is still thin. Like if they would have gone somewhere else, then like maybe you can buy into that guy's program and keep Josh Allen and keep the good things and overhaul the bad things and create something beautiful. But instead, they just slightly moved the camera angle to the right. Like Jim Leonard, cool. Like he might be good. He might be just as good as McDermott was for the defense. If he's not, then this is a failure. Honestly, like he has to be really, really good for this to matter.
Absolutely. I would agree because you went from having your play caller and your head coach that was your defensive play caller to having your play caller turn to head coach, but now no defensive coordinator, at least at the time. So, yeah, I mean, and not even to get into the weeds of this, but the defense just needs such an overhaul. Like, I think it was Matt Sponhauer was listening to Stay Hot earlier on my car ride up here, and he made a good point. He said, no one thought the Chiefs or the Ravens would be in the position that they ended up in. And we as a collective felt far better about them going into 2025 than people are going to feel about the Bills going into 2026. So
Yep.
very, very muddy waters over in Buffalo for sure.
Agreed.
Well, let's go on to a brighter side of things. Well, we'll talk about one of the more recent ones because I think this candidate not only was a Bills candidate, I think for some, but he is probably in my mind the best one that was available in this cycle and not officially hired, but it's definitely going to be the case. And that's Clint Kubiak to the Raiders. That's like literally as of today.
Mhm.
What were your thoughts on this immediately?
I liked it a lot. I gave it an A because I think they are going to look to him as a savior. He is not some CEO head coach to kind of get us through the dark times. This is a guy that we need to come in and overhaul our offense, completely change everything. I think they're going to give him a full leash to use their unlimited salary cap and just overhaul the offensive line, get whatever weapons he wants. I have a hard time imagining he's not going to just bring Shaheed over when his contract's done. Like they're going to do some good stuff, but I liked it a lot because the other options that they had were pretty bad. They were the second to last team to get their coach, and they ended up with arguably the best one. Definitely the best offensive minded one, in my opinion. So that's a huge win for Mendoza, for Bowers, for Genty, and for their lifespans, honestly.
When you look at Kubiak, I gave this hire an A plus, just because I'm as drastic because we laughed about it the other day because of how like strong my opinions could be one way or the other. So I stuck with that. I gave it an A plus purely because I look at Kubiak, like you said, as the best offensive mind that was available in this cycle. But not only that, I think when you compare the Seahawks pre 2025 to the Raiders pre 2025, there was more to work with in Seattle, hands down. But if you kind of zoom out, you see two bad offensive lines and a run game situation that you're suspect of and a tight end or a receiver in Seattle's case, but a tight end in the Raiders case that you're like, there's so much to unlock here, and they're a quarterback even that you're a little unsure of. There's just a lot of similar question marks that had me wondering, where is Seattle going to go? This is a bridge situation. They'll be a 10-win team at most, and here they are in the Super Bowl. Of
Mhm.
course, there's a lot of other factors that go into that, but generally speaking, I see a lot of similar puzzle pieces that previously Kubiak was able to put together, and it might take him a few more years, but um, if there's a guy to do it, I think Brady and Davis and Spytek nailed it. And like you said, I think the fact that they were able to hold out this long with outweight the Bills and the Ravens, like there were some prime quarterbacks, prime spots that Kubiak could have probably just swung his balls in and took, but he managed to end up in Vegas, so that's a big old win for Vegas.
It is. Yeah, I mean, the only questions now is just going to be their defense because they lost their defensive coordinator to the Steelers. So that's the part that I was kind of weary on because, like, I think on paper, their defense is worse than they performed. Like, I was looking preseason, I was like, this defense might be the worst in the league. But Patrick Graham did a really good job, in my opinion, of making them league average, which is impressive of itself. But I am worried rolling out the unction out there. I mean, Jamal Adams, Devin White, who like that entire slew of like Jermaine Pratt type players they had rolling out there. It was bad, and they made lemonade out of it. I'm really worried that like if they just get some Joe Schmo off the street or just promote some secondary guy, it might be bad. So they will have to invest pretty hard in their new DC spot.
For sure, yeah, that's the biggest difference between Seattle and Vegas. Obviously, it's not just the defensive talent, but the mind that is behind the whole operation. Like, I mean, I'm not, as big of a fan as I am of football, and as much research as I do. I'm not the guy to ask about the next up and coming, defensive coordinator when most of them have been plucked. Like, we're looking at a very thin field here as far as I'm concerned. So who it's going to be, I don't know. It's probably going to be some like random linebacker coach from, it was some random team in the NFC South, but who knows? Whoever it ends up being, um, they're going to have to outdo themselves pretty big. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to have your first round pick in Mendoza, but that's an offensive selection. After that, it's like, you're going to have to knock free agency out of the park. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the defensive free agents really look like, but they're going to have to spend, I think, Patriots level money to get to the point where you're like, okay, maybe whoever it is can make this work. And they spent a shit ton, and we were still unsure about what that would look like beforehand, and that's with Vrabel. So,
yeah, like I mean, they have what 90 mil to spend this offseason. I mean, it's nasty. Like it is really, really nasty. So it could happen. I believe it's just after seeing how it went this last season, how they went about team building, roster building, I felt gross. I felt really, really gross. And the product was gross. I mean, they're picking first overall. But at least they feel good. The future feels good, at least.
yeah, we feel a little bit, people can feel happier and more encouraged. Although that was the
Yeah.
case last offseason.
Yeah, but at
Raiders,
least like
AFC North champs, like your West.
yeah,
I'm like, really, people?
their coach was like 100 though. Like it was like maybe like we feel good, but like your quarterback's 35, your coach is like retiring tomorrow. Like the future felt good with like Bowers and Crosby, but like it was a distant future. It wasn't now.
Yeah,
It still's not
definitely.
now, but maybe like 3 years, I think we could see some.
Agreed. Well, what about let's go to the Cardinals, who, funny enough, after we heard the news break about Kubiak basically verbally agreeing to a deal with the Raiders, like an hour later, if that, news breaks that Mike LaFleur inks a deal with the Cardinals. Oh, surprise, surprise. I gave the Cardinals hire of Mike LaFleur a B minus. I have, quite frankly, no idea what to think about this. Last time around, Arizona badly was the last team to hire a head coach in John Gannon. This cycle, same thing here. They wait, and they're the last team to end up with their coach again. And it just feels like they're settling. Like, I think LaFleur is coming from a very rich background, originally working with, the Shanahan, with Shanahan in the Shanahan tree. He goes off to try and do his own thing, but no one in the Jets organization had any lick of success that season in 2021. With he had Zach Wilson and Mike White and some Joe Flacco sprinkled in there. Like, no one was going to make that work. He was partially scapegoated. Then he goes and, he's with the Rams this past year. So there's a lot of rich experience, but we're not too sure if it's going to carry over. But the thing is, he's young with that experience. You're hoping the swing can pay off. So given the fact that once again they're late on the hire, it could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, like you talk about the coaches he's been with the Shanahan, the McVay tree, not everyone, a lot of people from that have found a lot of success on top of, just the pedigree of this guy. He's been the Rams offensive coordinator through some really good offenses. Like on paper, he sounds awesome. It's just, I don't know anything about him. We do know that on the Rams, you really aren't the offensive coordinator. Sean McVay runs that entire thing. You're just kind of there as a collaborator. Last time we saw him as like the high priestess offensive coordinator, it was in the Jets from 2021 to 2022, and they banished him because it wasn't his fault altogether. I mean, he had nothing going for him. He had like Corey Davis, but that was bad. That was really, really bad. So maybe he's grown. Maybe there's been growth in the last 3 years as the Rams offensive coordinator, but man, I'm worried for him because the Cardinals are a team that doesn't really have direction, I guess. They have some decent players, but they don't really have like a direction. So I was almost kind of wanting either like a high-end offensive play caller like Kubiak or some kind of CEO head coach just to get them on track. Somebody that the players will listen to, somebody that's done this before. Mike LaFleur has never, I don't think he's ever led in any way. He's really not even been the primary play caller outside of 2 years for the Jets. That didn't go well. So I'm worried. But I still gave it a B- because on paper, he is set up very, very well with that experience to be a good coach. I just haven't seen it yet, so I can't give him anything more than that.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of good points there, and the like you said, we know nothing really about him, and when talking about some of these candidates, a lot of the hype around them comes from organizations and from who he's worked with, and it's a lot of, like, praise from sources we on the outside can trust. The Grant Udinski hype, as much as I felt like it came out of nowhere, this guy was the second coming of Jesus as far as we were concerned. And a guy like LaFleur, who is so young, that has worked with who he's worked with and the quarterbacks he's had, that he's worked alongside, for there not to be that, I won't say Grant Udinski level hype, but there's zero murmurs. There's zero like, yeah, man, when he was here, he did great things. Like there's just none of that. And to have this history, this experience, you would think he would be the golden child of this cycle, or even the last couple of years, and he's just not. So I think it's important for us on the outside to be careful with what, I don't want to say what we believe, but what we put our faith in. And I was, sitting here like, Udinski could be great. He could be nothing. He's 30 years old and he's never called plays before. We don't know what he is. And the same thing goes for LaFleur, so I'll give him the same benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
But I do find it odd, and I am skeptical that, like you said, we know nothing of a guy that has been in so many plentiful situations for previous coaches. So we'll see. It's really a wait and see. I think he will stick with Kyler, though. I will say that.
I think he should. I think the Kyler slander has gone too far. Like, I think it's very, very fair to be critical, sure. But people are talking about him now like he is like strictly a backup. And then they'll bring in like Malik Willis as if he has to start for a team next year. Like, what are we doing? Why? Why do we think Kyler cannot play next year, but Malik Willis has to? It's insane. It's actually insane to me. Like, Kyler is very much still one of the better 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. He should be starting next year, especially with a guy that's supposed to be, kind of a quarterbacky offensive passing game guru. Let's try it out. If it doesn't work, now's the time we just kill him. If he doesn't do well this year, we just kill Kyler in Arizona, leave him there. If he does well, then awesome. We have a first overall pick quarterback, really good athlete with a strong arm that did well. Cool. Win-win.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Tank for Arch.
I think like if I'm Mike LaFleur, I understand that I was given this job purely because there probably wasn't many others left. And the last time I was put in a position of power, I was given Zach Wilson, the Mormon, to work with. So I'm not going to risk going out into the wild trying to find a quarterback. I'm going to sit
Nope.
here and try to establish my name with a quarterback that has talent that also a lot of people have questions about. So it's almost like a win-win in the sense that if Kyler goes out there and he stinks it the fuck up, it might not be LaFleur's fault from the perception of everybody else. So
Yeah.
who knows how it goes? It's just if you're LaFleur, you have to do a lot more for yourself before you can think you can just bring this team to a Super Bowl. And sticking with Kyler is absolutely where that will start. So I would be shocked unless they got some king's ransom from the Vikings out of
Mm.
all teams to move on from him. Then I think Kyler will be a Cardinal. And the worst case, unfortunately for them, would be Kyler's a Cardinal, LaFleur is fine, and they're, a 9-win team, and then they're like, "What the fuck now? Was he good
Mm.
enough this year?" No one knows. We're in year 7 of the Kyler experiment, and still nobody knows what he is.
No, I think I have an idea, but I think that idea is a top 25 quarterback in the NFL, and sometimes you just take that than kicking him to the curb and trying to figure something else out because usually that something else is not a top 25 quarterback in the league. So I would stick with this, try it out one more year, see what happens.
Agreed. Well, how about I would call this the most unexpected hire of the cycle. Kalshi and Polymarket did not see this one coming. The Browns hiring Todd Monken, basically just plucking shit off the wall at this point. Um, I gave this a C, probably the most meh hire of the whole cycle. Like, to be honest, like, I don't even know if I don't have an opinion, and I don't think I could form one. This is a 60-year-old head coach. Like, we're in the modern day NFL. Everyone's trying to become younger. Everyone's trying to, innovate with their offense. They're trying to find new ways to win. Hiring a 60-year-old head coach is one thing if they've been a head coach before, if they're a retread. He's not even that. So we're sitting here like, okay, I mean, what do we do with this? And to be honest with you, I don't know. The fact that they didn't just go the route of Jim Schwartz, somebody that's in their building that is, older, that they know, that was willing to take the job in the first place. That's insane to me. And now they're sitting here with Todd Monken, and they could lose Jim Schwartz, and they'll be in just as bad of a situation as they were last offseason.
Yep, I 100% agree. I was even a little bit more negative. I gave it a D, but for the same reasons you said. Like, this is a 60-year-old in his first head coaching gig in what, like almost 15 years, when he was at Southern Mississippi, and now he had a couple kind of failed offensive coordinator experiments in the NFL. Went to the University of Georgia, did well, and then was like 3 years for the Ravens, where, yeah, shocker, you found success with Lamar and Derrick Henry. Like, it would take a moron to make a bad offense out of that. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad play caller, but to pick that to be my head coach based off the fact that you had a good offense with Lamar and Derrick Henry, and then even then, the Ravens' issues in the playoffs to this date are still because of offensive play calling. It was Greg Roman before. Todd Monken was no different. Like, the same sins still existed with Monken. And then you're asking him to go to the most broken franchise in the league and just go figure it out. Be our bridge coach, I guess, for a couple years before you retire. It's really, really odd. Especially, and this is partially why my grade was so rough, was because you already had that in your program. You had Jim Schwartz, who does have NFL head coaching experience. Like, he is a better candidate and had an elite defense for like the last 3 years. And you hiring Monken pissed him off so bad that he is leaving now. So you just downgraded coordinators, and now you have to go find a D coordinator. This makes zero sense to me. An F could fit for me, honestly. This was so bad.
This might be the most passionate I've seen you about a negative subject in the history of our
It makes no sense.
91 episodes. Like, I mean, you're right. There is zero. I mean, shocker. The Browns do something that has zero logic behind it. Like, we've been here before. I think best case scenario for Cleveland is they do what they did with Garrett. Like, he was so adamant about leaving, and they're like, all right, we'll write as many zeros on this paycheck as we can. Just don't leave. And hopefully that works out for them. But yeah, Schwartz is not happy. Myles Garrett's posting the the fast food worker like hands on knees on the bench outside meme on his Instagram story. Like, holy shit! Like, it's not like how hard can it be? This is one of those scenarios where I can't stand when people say that us normies can't do these jobs or can't at least do them as badly as some of these executives do. Because I certainly could. If you want me to do it as bad as the Cleveland Browns are, I can. In fact, I think there's a higher ceiling with my dumbass than any of the decision makers in that organization right now. It's just like it's sad. It really is. And Monken shows up like there's videos of him, just kind of talking, and the media teams doing their best to like dress this up. Like the Chargers are sitting here with Mike McDaniel, the best social media team slash personality and coach combo you can ask for. And they're making all these funny videos. And then there's the Brown social media team who's had to mock up, Deshaun Watson stuff, propaganda, and Shadur Sanders dealing with the Shadur Sanders stuff. And now they have Todd Monken in a blazer with like a wife beater under it.
It's so bad.
in one of the offices, and he's just like talking, and everyone's like, he looks like a divorced father that doesn't have child custody, and he just got out of the bar. Like, it's like, dude, this is the most Cleveland thing probably ever.
He did like he just got off the bottle with that outfit on. Like it was bad. I mean, just like the baggy jeans with that blazer, didn't even match. Like, I can maybe understand not going young. If they would have got Harbaugh, I would have understood. Like, you go after some kind of proven head coach, the kind of head coach for like, what you're gonna get type thing. I think that's fine. But when you're taking a risk on an offensive coordinator that only really has like 2 to 3 good years of experience in the NFL, and he's 60, that's just not for me. Especially with all the decision making he's going to have to do. I don't think that he's the personality either that will be getting along with Shadur. I just don't think that's it.
I mean, I'm rooting for him. Don't get me wrong. As negative as I'm being, yeah, this might be the first time in history where we're saying these things opposite. I am rooting for him because he sounds like he's a good guy. He seems very passionate about this, very grateful for the opportunity. So I'm rooting for it to work out. You make that point about the Shadur thing. We all saw the uproar that Emmanuel Acho caused over the comments he made, something along the lines of, what has Todd Monken done at the NFL level? Why should Shadur listen to his head coach? Like, the biggest dumbass of all time. If he had to prove that further to anybody else, he did. And where was I going with this? I had a second tangent. Long story short, though, I am rooting for him. Whether it works out or not, I guess we'll see. But it just is. It's just the most Cleveland thing ever. Like, that was it. I think when you're an organization that's as dastardly as they are, that's in the position they are, to be putting their candidates through these rigorous like interview processes that were reported, at least, like, do you have any self-awareness? Like, I might not be in the NFL, but I've been like unemployed before. In fact, it's kind of a running joke. I know what it's like to need a job, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to take some bottom feeder bullshit just because I need a job. Like, I've gotten emails for jobs that, I get on the phone with the recruiter and she's like, yeah, so this is a remote position, but we're going to have you, come down to our headquarters in New York City, which, mind you, is like 10 hours away from where I live, for one of the interviews. And I said, is that like during the onboarding process? This is a real story. I asked her, is this during the onboarding process, like this interview, like after I get hired? She said, no, this is part of the interview process. I said, how fucking down bad am I supposed to be driving 10 hours for an interview that, quite frankly, I don't need? Why would anybody in their right mind do this? And I'm sure Mike McDaniel, Grant Udinsky, and anybody else, Nate Shieldhouse, that went and applied for this job, they're like, why am I taking like an SAT to get the Cleveland Browns head coaching job? Like, I don't fucking need this. I'll just stay where I'm at. And a lot of those guys clearly chose that option.
Good for them, because I'm rooting for all these young head coaches just to find success somewhere. And honestly, if young Shieldhouse or Udinsky, whoever it is, has their first head coaching gig trying to handle the Shadur, Deshaun Watson whole thing that they have to deal with now, like, I don't wish that upon anybody ever. Like, the first Shadur incomplete pass, and he's being accused of sabotage. It's just it's going to be terrible. So I want nothing to do with that job, to be so honest. And I think that we're seeing a very clear reason why he fell to the 5th round in the first place. Honestly, they just didn't want to deal with that with the fans, and now they're gonna have to. And it just feels so messy that I can't give it anything higher than a D.
That's fair. Yeah, if I think if the Browns knew that Josina Anderson would be like creating the stir that she does every time Shadur does anything, they would have avoided drafting him. But
her.
it's,
I'm seeing like 12-minute long AI generated videos. It's so bad. They're everywhere. I can't avoid them.
it is, man. Like, it is the most delusional hive of people I've ever seen. Like, we have
It's
seen
like since
delusional
Vic.
hives. It might be worse.
Yes, it is worse because Vic at least like was really, really talented. But he had like fans that like were saying he was like a top 3 quarterback in the league and just you wait kind of thing. But yeah, this is bad. This is so much worse. This is way worse. Like Johnny Manziel, his fans weren't even this bad. This is way worse.
Like, at least there was reason to believe that he might be good, but at this point, like, fuck, man. Like, it's over. It's just give it up.
Yeah.
But, well, let's go on to another position that we can maybe have a little bit more excited about, and that's the Giants. They went ahead and hired John Harbaugh. What was the grade that you gave this?
I gave this an A-, because I just think it will be good. Like, I have a hard time looking at somebody as positive and somebody as experienced as Harbaugh and seeing him fail, especially in a position that Daboll just found success in. I think that he could do that in more. Not success, but you know what I mean. They looked up for a little bit and then they went down again. But you have Dart, you have a fun little offensive core with Scatabo and Malik Neighbors, and if they can retain Andrew Thomas long term, like, there's a cool core here. And they have a lot of really cool defensive pieces. They just kind of needed, I'll say it again, like that CEO type head coach just to ring it all together. You can't have your head coach busting into the medical tent. You can't have him being a head case on your sideline. Like, you need a cool, collected guy that's been here before and that's been here for the last 20 years to get you here. Harbaugh has been a good head coach in his career. Things stalled out in Baltimore. I don't think it's fully his fault. So I think a change of scenery with a really good young core will be good for him and for them.
I think so too. And I had a really tough time locking the balance beam on this one. I gave it a B-. I think for a couple of reasons. So, like I said, in the short term, I think this is perfect for what the Giants need for every reason that you listed. Although I think when looking across the board at teams that we have seen kind of like make that instant 1 or 2 year turnaround to where they're suddenly contenders, like, there's clearly question marks with this team, but as far as the rest of the field, they check more of those boxes based on what we've seen in the past than I think other teams do. So you look at Harbaugh as somebody that could potentially reset their culture and be that bridge head coach in a way as being good for now, but I think it also limits like what they could be long term because you hire John Harbaugh for the long haul. I don't know if he is going to be a Super Bowl winning coach anymore. And I think the Giants are in a spot where they need this type of presence maybe for 1 or 2 years. And then you're hoping to God with all of the talent they can accumulate, in which they already have, that they could be at the top of the NFC. Whether they are or not, I guess that we'll see. They very well could be, but the problem with Harbaugh is the fact that they, similar to the Bills, were unable to get through that perennial playoff wall that Terry Pagula called it. So I guess this might be slightly unfair to grade a hire this cycle as such, but I do worry that, once push comes to shove, we're 4 or 5 years into this process and we're kind of over the honeymoon phase of getting the Giants back on track, that, we're going to be stuck with the Ravens part 2, not to the same extent, but you kind of get my drift.
Yeah. I think there is always going to be that weird thing when you hire an older coach, because for a fact he won't be your head coach in 10 years. Like, you look at McVay, and he might be here for 20 years. He might be here for another 20 plus years in LA, kicking butt, doing his thing. But when you look at somebody like Harbaugh, he's only got probably max 5 on a good day. But I think the angle you take is that you do get it all the way turned around, and you promote a really good offensive coordinator, a really good defensive coordinator. I know they're looking pretty heavy at Cliff Kingsbury to be their offensive coordinator, who already himself was kind of getting some head coach looks. Like, he is a good coordinator. So I think if he is their guy and they want to groom him up under Harbaugh for a couple years, let him try it out. I think there's a cool vision there. But I do very understand knocking someone down a bit for their age and just really how long they'll be able to be there, especially when they already do have that playoff wall type history about them.
Yeah, like I think 63 is old, but for a guy of Harbaugh's pedigree, like I don't think he's just gonna kind of pack it up in a couple of years. Like, I think and the Giants are also in this for, I would say 10. I could see him coaching for another 10 years, to be honest with you.
That'd be
And
fun.
yeah, like, I mean, it could work. How long it's a good product, we'll have to see. But I think that's where I get concerned. And like, I think when I look at the Raiders, they're a team where there's zero. I'm sorry, respectfully, unless Mendoza is the second coming, there's zero championship in sight for them within the foreseeable future. So they are one of those teams that absolutely needed a CEO presence. That doesn't change the fact that I didn't love their hire. I think the hire was great, but that's the kind of state of a team that I view needing said CEO. Like, Brandon Beane throwing that term out left and right. I'm like, will you shut the fuck up? This team doesn't need a CEO head coach. They just need someone to call plays and make sure Josh Allen is the best version of himself. That's it. And hopefully this is it. But this is one of those teams that falls right in the middle of that, and we'll see how it kind of pans out. But hopefully, yeah, it doesn't end up being this like long stale relationship because they can't move on from such a decorated coach that did them well for the early part of their relationship. Who knows? I maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that was kind of my long-term read.
I mean, I think that's fair.
Yeah, it'll be interesting though. Hopefully that their offensive coordinator, whoever it ends up being, because they haven't hired anybody, right?
No, I know. Like, the name Brian Callahan was floating around. If that's the case, I'd feel a little bit grosser.
Yeah.
But if it is Cliff, I would be very excited. I think that would be really, really cool.
I think Cliff and Dart would be very good friends for the early part of Dart's career, especially. Like, it's, you can very much transfer the Jaden Daniels offense right over to New York with what you got in there. So
I love
that would
Cliff.
be a good match. Do you? I
He
don't know
has
how I feel about him.
the tightest shirts of all time.
I just like, he just seems like such a pansy to me. Like, that whole story about how he like fled to Taiwan after he got fired.
That was so funny.
That shit is just so crazy to me. And maybe the reporting just painted it out poorly, which it probably did, but they made it really sound like he just kind of like got really sad and like took a retreat. I'm like, all
I
right,
probably would also, if I got fired from my job and I just made like a couple mil, I also would probably go to Taiwan.
yeah, that's fair. That's
I'd
fair.
be like, fuck you guys.
Yeah,
Why
right.
like why am I going back to like New York? I'm going to Taiwan for a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. Wasn't he the guy that took a picture in like his house during the draft and he was like in this very open concept, like, you know what I'm talking about?
I thought that was McVay.
Was that McVay? That's what I was
McVay, it was like
thinking.
in his like kitchen with like a waterfall, like I think in the
Something
background.
like that. It was like it was like white granite marble house kind of thing.
Yeah.
Clearly a rich person's building.
It
But
might have
he's
been
just
Cliff.
like he wears like, he wears pants that are like not all the way down to his ankles.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like a weirdo to me. But not in like a Mike McDaniel weirdo way. He's like that kid in high school that like he played on like the lacrosse team or the hockey team, but like he wasn't actually one of the better players. He was kind of just like a third or fourth line guy, but he just thought he was so sick, but he's just not. Like that's kind of the vibe I get from Cliff.
That's fair.
He's probably such a really cool. He's probably such a cool guy.
Yeah.
I'm just dissing the fuck out of him for no reason. How about let's go over to oh boy, the Steelers. The
Oh,
Steelers. I'll be the negative Nancy on this one. I gave the Steelers an F. Flat out F. Similar to Buffalo in a way where bad process, wrong organization, but this time bad candidate. Like, I just not the fit here. Like, I think there were a select few destinations that McCarthy would have made sense for. This ain't one of them. And I think every single human being that's talked about this subject has explained why. I don't want to sit here and regurgitate all of those reasons. The only thing that I was confused about for the Steelers was the fact that they kind of just rushed this hire. I think he was like the third or fourth coach hired. I could be wrong on the number for that, but it was kind of early in this whole cycle. And it's like, why? I guarantee you, Mike McCarthy was probably getting like more scam calls than actual coaching calls on a day-to-day basis for the last couple of weeks. Why did you feel the need to just kind of blow off every other candidate for Mike McCarthy? That's very odd to me. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on too is like the writing was kind of on the wall here. And I think Steelers fans got themselves very excited because for the first time in legit decades, they're like, oh my God, there's a chance for change here. And I follow a few Steelers accounts and they're talking about all of the, they're talking about Shula and Shieldhouse and like, the McVay tree guys. Like, this is so exciting. They've hired young guys historically in the past. Like, they really talked themselves into one of the other hires. But anybody that truly listened to Rooney after Tomlin made his decision could see this coming. And I didn't. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I did see it coming because I didn't predict this. I didn't listen to Rooney. But looking back on his comments, he said two things. The first thing he said was he had no intention, zero intention of firing Tomlin. So he was not thinking of changing his own mind. The other thing he said was he does not believe in the word rebuild. He doesn't like the word rebuild. You put those two things together, in Art Rooney's old head, he's thinking, I want someone that is going to just kind of pick up right where Tomlin left off. And that is Mike McCarthy to a T.
yep.
And really, love it or hate it. And well, no one loves it, but you can hate it all you want. Rooney is following through on everything he said. So you can't be mad at him. It's not like he lied or misled anybody.
No. Like it makes perfect sense, especially with I think also how they're. Well, actually, no. Their offensive coordinator hired who they just hired today, Scott Tolzien.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the one time where I didn't feel like they were going crazy conservative. Like they actually went kind of cool, like a young guy that just helped develop Shuck. That's cool. Patrick Graham, also a pretty good defensive coordinator hire, the Raiders guy. But God, this is like they're 8-9, 9-8 again. Like they might not go 500 every year, but they might be right near it. And yet again, like they still have quarterback issues. They still only have one receiver that's worth playing. They still look the same. Arthur Smith is gone. Like there will be some change. You might not see, 14 personnel out here, but like It'll look very similar. Mike McCarthy overall, historically, is a good football head coach. He's been good, but he's also 62 years old. He basically almost retired last year. Like he took a year off, was just like, I'm just gonna just watch how it unfolds. And they're no better. Like you said, they're not trying to change. They think that they can win the exact same way they've been trying to win since they drafted Mason Rudolph, since they drafted Kenny Pickett. They've been doing the same thing for 5 years now. You should just listen. Listen to what they're telling you. They're telling you they're never going to stop doing this. And yes, you will be in Ayuk trade talks again. Yes, you will be in all of these offseason. Your offseason will look the exact same as it's looked every year. It's no different.
It's not. It's like it was fun. I mean, I'm still having fun talking about this. We have a lot of Steelers fans in our Discord, and generally speaking, I have gotten in fucking arguments with Steelers fans for years. They just really know how to grind my gears. They're a delusional bunch. It's been fun to mock them for this mediocrity cycle, but now there is a shred of guilt that I feel on their behalf because now they're truly feeling the consequences. Like they're truly in pain. Like this is no longer like legacy Mike Tomlin, maybe it'll work out. This is like, oh my God, the light is at the end of the tunnel. And they just had this big bad boot stomp right on their head. A boulder fell right in front of the cave exit. And they're like, oh my fuck. Like it's gone. Like it's not even one of those like good storybook endings type of potential. It's like we're gonna die in here. That is what just happened to the Steelers, and you can hear it in the way they tweet, the way these podcasts are talking about it. Like it is truly that feeling of doom, and I feel bad for him a little bit. Although it seemed like McCarthy won some of them back with his press conference. Although similar to the Joe Brady stuff, why is an intro fucking press conference winning people over? If that doesn't make you feel positive, then they failed. That's the purpose of it. So I'm glad that it's cool. I'm happy that maybe there's a shred of light. They're like, okay, look, maybe we can use this, the spoon I had in my lunchbox to dig away at the walls, and we can get out that way. That's basically where they're at. But they know in the back of their minds, it's like we're dead. But yeah, it's a sad world for Steelers fans right now.
I would be very sad.
It would be miserable, man.
There's it's Will Howard and Mike McCarthy are that's your world now, man. Maybe Tua.
Or Aaron.
Yeah, maybe if Aaron stays, yeah. Mason Rudolph might just be a Steeler once again,
I will say that in terms of like the best football life a man can live, Mike McCarthy has got to be near the top. This guy has like just been okay, but he's won a Super Bowl. He's worked with many legendary players and staff members. He is just constantly on standby for these coaching jobs, despite the fact that he's had not much success recently. But teams just continue to kind of circle back to him when he really isn't even doing anything. He's just kind of there. And he is coached for the Packers. He coached for the Packers, prolific organization. He coached for the Cowboys, prolific organization, and now he's coaching for the Steelers. Like that is a three-headed monster for a coach that he's been all right, but maybe not deserving of coaching three of the biggest figureheads in the entire world, frankly. But good for him. I'm happy for him. Good guy.
Yeah. Honestly, like he could have gone to the Titans and I honestly wouldn't have hated it.
Yeah.
Get them on their feet. I mean, he went 12-5 for 3 straight years in this decade, in the 2020s. Like he has been a good coach before. It's just they're the exact same. So they get bad grades from me, bad grades from you. Just a bad signing.
Yeah, it was bad. Like I said, I feel bad for Steelers fans a little bit. I still find it hilarious, so don't get it
It is
twisted.
funny.
It's fucking great. It's great. Like I'm reveling in it, but I do feel slightly bad. All right, next candidate. There are so many fucking coaches. Holy
So
shite.
many. Yeah.
Uh, Ravens. This one
Yep.
should be pretty unanimous. They hired Jesse Minter, right? I I gave this an A. What did you go with here?
A. Yeah. Same one.
Yeah, it feels like you look at the Ravens. The Ravens' top two problems over the past couple of years, excluding like the playoff stuff and the fact that they just haven't won, which is just a general sentiment. The two biggest issues have been injuries, specifically to their quarterback, and the defense. You know, especially this last year, you let Mike McDonald walk out of the building, and fortunate for you, the second coming of Mike McDonald is just waiting in the wings, and that's in Jesse Minter. Literally worked under Mike McDonald. You know, this guy put together a stingy pass defense over in Los Angeles. You know, that was literally the Achilles heel of the Ravens last year. Zach Orr had these guys like running after squirrels on the sideline before receivers in coverage. It was that bad. So it's hard not to like this hire. I think I think Declan Doyle will be an interesting
Hmm.
experiment. You know, I think the Ravens will now be shifting away from the usual like, oh, our defense is going to let us down. I mean, I guess it's been the offense too, but in the sense that you know the defense is going to be the side of the ball again that's really carrying their weight. Now it'll be you know can Lamar get it done? Can Declan and the play calling work? That's really where it's at. And the
Yeah.
Ravens, like the Bills, are just you know you won't know until you're in the playoffs and you're in the big game.
Yeah. I actually I'm really excited about Declan Doyle. I think that he is a really, really cool candidate that not enough people knew about until this week.
Mhm.
But really, really sharp mind. I like him a lot. Um, yeah, overall, Jesse Minter, like there's nothing to hate about him. He's been a really, really, really impressive defensive coordinator the last couple years. He's still pretty fresh. Like he's one of those guys where like his body of work speaks for him the last 2 years, but outside of that, we just don't really know enough about him. We don't know enough about his personality. Like these are the reasons why I couldn't give him a better grade is we still don't we don't know the leadership of
Mhm.
Jesse Minter. We know the coaching, we know the defensive product, but we don't know the head coach, Jesse Minter. We don't know any of that, but nothing about him gives any red flags. He doesn't seem like a hothead. He doesn't seem like anything outside of just a normal guy that you would find anywhere. And on top of just being a really, really, really good defensive mind, especially with how you can kind of translate Derwin James to Kyle Hamilton and like the very specific usage that he had in LA can be seen pretty clearly in Baltimore. Like it's very exciting stuff to look at, but the only reason it's not an A plus is just because we don't know, and there is that chance that he can't get the locker room, and he's just not a leader, and having the whole defensive play caller slash head coach job is just too much. But still give it an A. Very, very, very excited.
Agreed. Yeah, the Ravens are probably this is probably the most optimistic that the Ravens could be. Like not just the Minter hire, but you said like the Declan Doyle hire.
Hmm?
They've been you know plucking guys over to this coaching staff that it's young and there's a lot of confidence in it. So a real change of the guard over in Baltimore, which is what the Bills thought we were kind of getting, but yeah, I fucking digress. At least I'm not the Steelers.
True. It could have been way worse. It could have been somebody. You could have brought in like Leslie Frazier or something like to do that. Like you could have brought in the oldest person you could think of to be your coach, but no, you did go with Joe Brady, who's what like in his 30s, probably like pushing 40. Like
Hmm.
you're looking good there.
Yeah, it could have been Philip Rivers too.
It could have been. It could have been. That would
Which
have been fun too. That would have been really fun to talk about.
like if I as a pure football fan, I would have been on board. As a Bills fan, I'd be like, "You motherfucker!" Like I would have been pissing up a storm. And it's kind of funny because there's a Twitter account I follow, and he he made a comment that made a lot of sense. He said, "I think I think Rivers was a lot closer to being like a potential hire than people realize, and I can't remember exactly what his reasoning was, but it was something along the lines of his experience. You know, he had like a connection to him that no one really knew about, and he thinks that Rivers was probably like second or third on the list of candidates,
Mm.
which is insane. Frankly,
That is insane.
it is down. Could you imagine going from potential Hall of Fame candidate to active quarterback to head coach, all in a
No,
matter of like 5 months? Like that might be Hall of Fame worthy in itself. I mean, it
should
already
be.
is. How about the Atlanta Falcons? Where'd you go here?
Kevin Stefanski, I gave this a B- because I think that he has been the scapegoat in Cleveland for a long while. I think you saw some really, really good success getting them to the playoffs, damn near beating the Chiefs, minus a couple of really controversial calls. Like, they had success. And then they went to the playoffs after that with Joe Flacco. And then I think it was more personnel issues than anything, and personnel handling by Andrew Berry, which is the reason why they fell off. I don't think that he tried to sabotage Shadur. I don't think that any head coach would ever try to sabotage a young quarterback that could potentially be saving their job. Sorry, I don't think that exists.
It's a hot
I
take, by the way.
Yes, hot take. Apparently, yeah, like a guy wouldn't purposely try to sabotage one of the most well-paid jobs, a football person could have. But whatever. Yeah, I like the fit a lot. I mean, clearly, like looking at how they've had success, offensive line, run game, tight ends, they got all that. They still have the same existing quarterback issues with, Michael Penix not being who we thought he was, and there aren't a lot of really good other options out there. So I wouldn't expect fireworks in year one, but I still feel really, really, really good about where Bijan will be, how the offensive line will be, and I just simply kind of like it. But the results of Stefanski don't make it sexy. But I think he's a good coach.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hope here. This is a hopium hire
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, and that's not a bad thing. There's been proof of concept. I gave it an A minus for those reasons. I think I was a big Kubiak to Falcons believer. I think if there was a match made in heaven, that was it for the Falcons, just because of Kubiak coming from the Shanahan tree. Shanahan was, obviously the play caller for Matt Ryan when he was here, and Matt Ryan is, kind of running the show now. I thought it really would have made a lot of sense. But Stefanski's probably the next best option as far as the field goes. They had a defensive play caller at the helm last year that clearly went south. So when you have a quarterback like Michael Penix who clearly needs to be honed in, you can't have these like fly by night play callers, these guys that really haven't proven anything as far as quarterback development goes. And Stefanski has made it work, as you mentioned, with personnel problems. And this is comfortably the best cast that he's worked with
Hmm.
ever, probably in his entire coaching
I
career,
think that's
period.
offensively easily. Yeah.
Yeah, like hands down, even quarterback included. Like Baker himself, albeit a better quarterback, was still someone that needed to go through some rash development, and he really had to dial Baker in, and he did for a period of time there. And I think it could very easily happen with Penix, if it all works out. Although it's Penix, so who knows? That's kind of that's he's erratic. He's Michael Penix, so we don't know. But when you have Drake London, your run first offense, which Kevin Stefanski has successfully orchestrated in the past, like it just feels like all of the lines and all of the connections really meet in the middle between this hire
Hmm.
and between the candidate and the hire.
Great.
The final two, the two that I guess in my own mind really just kind of got lost in the shuffle a little
Hmm.
bit here. The Dolphins will start with, and this was Jeff Hafley, which I gave a B. I think we briefly talked about this a couple episodes ago, just because the hire happened a while back, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think it gets lost in the shuffle because it's another one of those hires that I feel kind of meh about. Like I gave it a B. I'm hopeful that this is the guy that can kind of change the whole identity of Miami. I think you made a few good points when we last talked about it. Like this is a hard-nosed individual who could potentially change like the outlook that Miami has had for the last couple of years. This is a defense that it's gonna have to be the side of the ball that brings success because the offense is just in such distress with the Tua situation. Tyreek is gone. It's really just Waddle and Achan and Aaron Brewer really, which isn't the worst core ever, but the defense is gonna have to punch above their weight big time. And I think Halfley could be the guy to make that happen given what he did, especially in the back half of the season with the Packers.
Yeah. His is hard because I think people see a guy that's probably he's like what mid 40s, probably pushing 50. They see a guy that's experienced. He's been a coach for a while. So it doesn't quite have the same feel as all these young kids that are applying, but he's still very fresh. I mean, he's been a college football coach for a long time, briefly in the NFL as like a DB's guy, and he's only been in a serious NFL role since 2024, where he was the Packers D coordinator the last 2 years, albeit like good success. Very, very good success, especially this year when he got his hands on Micah Parsons. But I don't know. I feel weird because he also did have 4 full seasons to be a Boston College head coach, and it was miserable from 2020 to 2023. Like they had 4 years to just try it, and they went below 500. Like it was a legit failed. He basically got fired, and they kicked him out. Went to go be an NFL coordinator, and had great success. But like I don't know, when you have a decent little sample size to be a college head coach, and it goes not only just mediocre but just outright bad, it's a little concerning. And I know it's very different, but at the same time, the existence of Miami Dolphins the last couple years has been offense, offense, offense. And they hire a defensive great. Then we get Bobby Slowick to be our offensive coordinator, bring in Nathaniel Hackett to be our quarterbacks coach. Like, we are not doing the right stuff here if we are trying to keep this explosive offense afoot. So, yes, you probably upgraded your defense and, maybe your team intensity, but now the offense looks putrid outside of Devon Achan and whatever happens with Waddle.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you made the point about how poorly he did at the college level. If I had to choose one team in the league that has been acting like a bunch of college kids, it would be the Dolphins. With
Yep.
Tyreek basically like kind of skipping practice at times to like run his like Shopify like pop-up store or whatever the hell he did with that. And then like A10 going on interviews and looking like he's like not even a human, like staring into the camera, like
He's like not
completely
breathing.
brain dead, yeah, like not breathing. And then Tua just going up to the podium and not giving a fuck about whatever he says. Like they are like literally just a bunch of stooges over there. And if Halfley couldn't reel in a bunch of 20-ish-year-olds, then how is he gonna reel in a
Yeah.
bunch of man babies? Like I know that a lot of those
It's
guys are moving on, and it's an exaggeration, but it's just funny to think like it's gonna be hard. Like this organization is in shambles from more than a football perspective.
yeah, I mean, I know it's different. Like the transfer portal and recruiting, like there is a whole nother world to being a good college head coach. But in my mind, a good coach just does the things necessary to get that done. Like, just can't be an excuse of like,
Mhm.
oh, I didn't wanna like I didn't want to dip into the portal. Like maybe your team didn't have the NIL necessary. I don't know. Either way, that just doesn't make me feel good about it when the only serious head coaching job, and it was in the last 5 years, was a huge failure. And then 2 years removed, you're a good D coordinator, and now you're a head coach again. But it's also worrisome because he's defensive minded, and they might be running Quinn Ewers or Malik Willis or whatever. And the solution to that offensively was Bobby Slowick and Nathaniel Hackett. Those are your two offensive engine guys for this year. If those guys are carrying the entire offensive weight of an NFL team, especially an offense that's kind of rebuilding, I don't like it. So I gave the hire a C. It was C minus. I bumped it up to a C.
You're so nice. You're so kind.
Yeah, it was very good. I just don't like it. Like I think
Yeah.
people look at Halfley and they just think that he's like foolproof. Like they think that it can't be bad, but I think there
Mhm.
is a chance that it could be.
It definitely could. I think hopefully we saw the Dolphins, primarily speaking, play better defensively than a lot of people thought. Like, going into 2025, like, we looked at the defensive back room and we're like, "Dog, who are these people?"
Storm duck.
Talk about Legion of Whom. That was the Legion of Whom preseason, and they got a lot out of it. It's just, kind of just gonna be Halfley. The success that Halfley has as a head coach, being more of a coordinator hire than a CEO hire, is going to really hinge on the success of the defense, especially early on. Like, we're not going into this expecting, if it's Tua or Quinn Ewers or whoever, to make this offense good. It's going to be Heffley. Who's the dive with the kid?
Greg Heffley.
It's Greg Heffley. That's what I was. I picked up a dive with the kid book earlier at the store. We're not going to judge Halfley's first couple years as a coach based on the offense's performance. It's going to be purely from a defensive standpoint. And I think that's where my faith is, just purely because we already saw this personnel kind of pick its weight up well. So hopefully Halfley can just kind of pick up that momentum. And then after that, the excuses will run out if they still can't find a quarterback, if they traded away their weapons and they still got nothing. Like, then we'll start to evaluate him from like a true head coaching perspective. But first time around, you're a defensive guy. That's where your focus has to be, and that's where my faith is going to go for the first couple of years at least.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing with our last and final guy.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob Saleh,
Bob.
the new Tennessee Titans head coach. That feels fitting. And I can't explain why. It just feels like a Titans thing.
I don't know. Like, I think this hire to me was in dire need of the Mike McCarthy or the John Harbaugh. And I think Robert Saleh has a little bit of that in him. I think he's got that. I think there is some of that personality in there. But this is still a coordinator hire.
Mhm.
And it's not the right side of the ball coordinator hire either. And I think that's where
No.
my other problem is, when you have a quarterback like Cam Ward that was walking on the field and, hucking the football cross body into triple coverage just because, like, he had nothing else. Like that, I think Brian Dable will be able to kind of reel that in, but we don't know. Like, he might just lean into the fucking chaos, and like, we don't know what Brian Dable's next move is. The guy's a walking, like, animal. But
Yeah.
it just, I like it. I think it's gonna be fine, but I don't see this team being like a presence in the AFC in the next 5 years still. I think they'll be better. They'll be the same, like, gritty, drag you in the mud type of group, but that got them as far as the AFC Championship game one time, and then they were never seen again, and I kind of get the same vibe at its ceiling.
Yeah. It's on paper, it's not that bad. Like, he is a good defensive coordinator. He is one of the better defensive minds in football, but like, looking at the picture of him wearing like the blue pullover, it feels the same as when any other receiver goes to Tennessee and you're like, oh fuck. I know how this looks. This is not good. Like, sometimes like a defender might go, or an offensive lineman might go, and you're like, oh, Pete Skoronski, he looks fine in that uniform. Like, he'll be
Mhm.
good. But you see like Calvin Ridley pull that helmet on, you're like, oh
Uh,
god, this is bad. This is really bad. Or L'Jarius Sneed put that uniform on, you were like, oh, he's done.
no,
His
and he
career's
was.
and he was
He
done.
was. He
He was from
was.
all pro to oh no. Like, he was gone.
That was good. Oh, proto. Oh no.
Like,
Literally.
that's kind of how I feel. Like, this is all vibes. Like, I have nothing analytical to tell you why Robert Saleh will not be a good head coach in Tennessee. I just look at it and it feels wrong. it just does not feel like he feels like a West Coast guy. He feels like he belongs in California somewhere. Like if he was even like the Raiders head coach, I wouldn't hate it that bad. But just being a Titan, I hate it, and I don't know why.
That's fair. I mean, I gave it a B plus, so I'm not much. I'm not disliked. I don't dislike it as much, but I still see where you're coming from, and I think it just is like they're just so oralless.
Yes,
Yes.
there's nothing.
Just-
Yeah, like he seems like he has a lot of energy on the sideline. Like he seems like a very high energy coach. But then like once he gets to him speaking, it goes away. Like a lot of his like the hard knocks things where he'd go up there and speak to the whole team. I would like yawn. Like I was not interested.
yeah,
But he was really, really energetic on the sideline, which is why, like, in my heart, I'm just like, this guy just should be a forever awesome defensive coordinator. Just go be Spags. Accept who you are. Just go be that. But he really, really wants that pay raise. He wants to go prove he can be the head coach. I don't blame him. It's just I kind of feel bad.
yeah. He just seems like a chill guy. Like as corny
Hmm.
as that sounds, like he seems like a fun guy to hang around, like kind of like a friend type of presence, more than like a Vrabel, hard nosed, like, I'm
Yeah.
your head coach type of thing. Like I
Yeah.
definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Maybe he can figure it out. I don't know. It
Maybe.
just is it's just like it's a high floor, high ceiling, low floor type of thing. I think
Sure.
where
Yeah. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
at, especially with the Dable hire. Like we're gonna see we're gonna see Cam Ward like speed option. Like
Yeah. Run
we're
QB
gonna be
power.
QB power with Cam Ward. Like we are gonna be deep in the Dable bag over here, and I don't know how it's gonna go, but yeah, just this is a wait and see thing for sure. I guess all of them
Yeah.
are, but more
Yeah,
so
that's why
those.
that's why I gave it a C plus because I'm like I don't hate it. Like on paper, it's not bad. I just in my heart I can't give it anything higher than that because I'm just like I don't think it will be good.
And you're big. I think you might be hater of the episode. Usually, I get
I
that by
am.
default. I get that by default. I'm like minus 1,500 to be hater of the episode, but you win it.
I
You take it
know
here.
because I learned from my mistakes. And last year, every single time somebody made a move, I'm like, oh, I see the vision. I can see it. I see why that'll be good. And then it wasn't. Like most moves are not good. So I was like, you know what? I'm done being excited about everything unless it makes perfect sense.
That's fair. I mean, that is very fair. Like there are so many times where us as fans and us as analysts, podcasters, so be it. We talk ourselves into thinking things are going to be fine. But we don't have to do that. It's okay. It's okay. Like just because Joe Brady said he missed the birth of his child to be, a coach doesn't mean we have to be like, yeah, rah, that's awesome. It's like no,
Yeah. Yeah,
no,
you might be a
yeah,
bad husband.
yeah. It's like yeah. I mean, cool, but yeah, Mike McCarthy. Just because he's from Pittsburgh doesn't mean you got to be crying about how like romantic this relationship now is. Like it's not. It's not that deep. We can be mad about it.
No, should have been Shula, and now he is jobless.
Oh,
Well,
speaking of that, I wanted to ask you during that, and I forgot. Um, do you think Shula's credibility took a hit in the playoff game?
I don't think so. I don't know because I think this was like the first year where people were like really on him as a head coach candidate. It got talks preseason a little bit, but I think he's cool as being where he is. Honestly, like
Mm,
maybe the credibility took a little bit of a hit, but I still think people would have been interested. Um, if not for that. I
mhm.
heard some rumblings of how he like I this could be so wrong, but how he like tanked his Steelers interview. That might be from like a completely just like non-credible source, but I heard other people saying like, yeah, he didn't tank it, or like he didn't tank it. He just said that they needed a rebuild,
Yeah, they got
and
mad.
the Steelers organization like was like, no, what do you mean?
They're like, "What? What did
Yeah,
you
like
just say to
we
me?"
don't do that, you fool. Like last time we drafted a quarterback in the top 5, it was Ben Roethlisberger from like Miami of Ohio. It wasn't even. I don't even think that was top 5. Like that's God. They haven't invested in a quarterback since that.
I
They
mean,
don't
take
give
it
it. Yeah, they got like
It
a
doesn't count,
20s a 20s pick for a quarterback that should have gone in the 4th. Like, it's bad. That's not even hindsight. He should have gone in the 4th, but
yeah, it's not hindsight either.
like at the
It's not.
time, he was
The
like my
fake
quarterback 4.
slide, the fake
Yes,
slide did him wonders.
that was the worst pick of my lifetime. It doesn't get worse.
Dude, I feel so bad for that fan base, bro.
Can you pick it?
They
But
killed
they
him.
talked themselves into that too because he's like from their city. Like, they're just such a romantic franchise. Like, they try to add like make everything like a movie, but just it doesn't have to be a movie, guys. Just rebuild, please, for
Oh
your
my
sake.
god. Seriously, it's like I think the only prerequisite to being a person of interest to them is just if you're from Pittsburgh. If you're from Pittsburgh, you
Yes,
automatically are
yes.
higher on the board, and that is
Do you
just
know what a cookie table is? And if you know the answer, then you get to be the Steelers head coach.
wow, man, what a time! What a time to be alive. I did hear that rumor about Chula like bombing the interview. Like there were Twitter accounts out there like like JPA football saying Chris Shula like made himself out to be like a fool in the interview. And I'm like sitting here wondering what asshole within the Steelers organization created this rumor because they had to do
Yeah,
damage control knowing that they were about to hire Mike McCarthy. They're like, we have to get in
agreed.
front of this. We have to get in front of this. We cannot let this
Yeah,
go
it had to have been
unnoticed.
his fault, not ours.
Yeah, it's like we had to have a
Yes,
reason to just pass on Chris
that's probably
Shula.
true.
So
That's
they
probably
just
true.
created some narrative that the guy like had well, I can't make the S2 test cognition score jokes anymore because Stroud is so bad.
Yeah, honestly, they might be real. They might be real, dude. The whole point of that was like it's supposed to test like how fast you can process information, and he's just throwing the ball straight up in the air at the line of scrimmage in a playoff game, late in like the second half. So you know what? I think we should test them all. Honestly, that's fair.
Dude, that test came and went. It was the hottest thing ever in that draft cycle, and then after his rookie year, it was like it got nuked off the planet. Like not a soul spoke of that outside of the joke about it for Stroud. And now
Bring
here
it
we are
back,
2
man.
years later, and we're like, holy shit, maybe they were right. Maybe he is dumb. Like
Yeah, bring it back, please. Honestly, we need
because that
it.
was that was the joke. It's like, yeah, Stroud just took a test and it said he was dumb, so now his draft stock is falling. But no, here we are. It's like shit.
Just no more dumb quarterbacks. Like we're just so tired of it.
Oh man. So maybe we'll hear in a couple years when Shula finally gets a job and he's on the podium after losing a bad game and he just says the worst shit ever. And we're like, maybe the Steelers did have a bad interview. Maybe that was true.
Yeah, maybe. But until then, I don't believe it. I mean, we saw freaking Gannon, like guys like Gannon are getting passing interviews and being head coaches. Like,
Yeah.
I'm confident Shula was better than Jonathan Gannon.
All right, well, that's enough laughing. That was fucking hysterical, bro. The S2 cognition test was the funniest thing ever. Poor Stroud was made out to be a fucking idiot, dude.
And it was
And
right all
now
along.
here we are.
It was just 3 years too late.
Oh, justice for the S2 cognition test. Bring it back.
Truly. Truly.
Those guys deserve a second chance. Oh man. All right. Well, I'm exhausted. I have no more thoughts. Do you have anything else you want to talk on?
Not a single one. I am all out of I'm all out of coaching thoughts.
I'm like having like when you're exhausted and you just like can't stop laughing. That's like the experience I'm going through right now. But I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, we will see you in episode 92. Like, subscribe, comment, join the Discord link below, and we will see you in 92. So that already. Peace.